Welcome back to Fighting Words. I'm Chris Maxwell, joined as always by senior combat writer Andreas Hale and senior combat editor Tom Gray. It is Thanksgiving week, and I know that I am thankful that we have not one, but two fights to talk about heading into the weekend. One, a rematch, and one, a pre-match, if you will, but let's get into the rematch first. Of course, I'm talking about Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2 for the undisputed super lightweight title at the 3 Arena in Dublin on DAZN this Saturday, November 25th. Now, the good thing about this fight is because it is in Dublin, it's an afternoon fight. We'll get to enjoy it. The main card starts at 2 with the main event happening at 5:30. So you will get to enjoy the other fight later in the night. But again, before we get into that, let's talk about this rematch. The first fight did not go the way any of us saw it going. We know it was going to be a tough fight for Katie Taylor, who was undefeated at the time. But we did not expect a unanimous decision loss by the Ireland native. And now here Chantelle Cameron is coming back to prove that this was not a fluke and that she deserved to win that fight. So heading in to this highly anticipated rematch, who do you guys have winning it?
I like Chantelle again. The first time around, I thought when we were predicting the fight, I thought that Chantelle could conceivably win in Dublin, but would not get the decision. So I was delighted that the judges got it right. I actually thought she won the fight 7-3, which is wider than what the judges had it. Game plan was spot on. She's trained by Jamie Moore, and she basically pursued Katie Taylor throughout the fight, worked the body when she was given the opportunity. Because she's naturally bigger, these kind of sharp, long-range attacks that Katie Taylor does just had no effect, and Chantelle ultimately was walking her down by the end. And I don't know how a 37-year-old Katie Taylor, as great as she is, and she is a great fighter, no doubt about it, I don't know how she turns this around at this point. She will come in with perhaps a different game plan, try different things, but because of the pace of 10 two-minute rounds, I just see the same fight developing a second time. So I like Chantelle Cameron big in this fight.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I don't see much happening different because Katie Taylor is one of the least active punchers in women's boxing. She doesn't throw a lot of punches, and Chantelle just simply outworked her over the course of 10 rounds. Chantelle's not as accurate, but the fact remains is that if you win a decision in Ireland, you did more than enough to win that fight. I don't see Katie Taylor doing much different. Is she going to throw more punches? I doubt it. She didn't throw a lot of punches when I thought she lost to Delphine Pursoon. She's not a busy fighter. She's just an accurate one. So she's going to have to make those punches count. The problem is Chantelle's younger, bigger, arguably stronger, and more active. I just don't see a path to Katie winning this fight unless, it was a close fight. Don't get me wrong. It was a relatively close fight. But unless Katie can find a way to, one, not absorb as many body punches, because Chantelle worked her body to death in the first fight. But in two, you have to be busier. You have to make her miss and make her pay. And that's really not Katie's MO. So I don't see anything different going in the rematch. Chantelle will retain that super lightweight undisputed title, probably in more definitive fashion this time.
And Chantelle Cameron even said it herself. She said, I think I'm all wrong for Katie. I'm too big. I'm too strong. And my will to win is too strong. I'm going to be there all night long. Katie picked the wrong fighter to fight. So you both said that you think Chantelle is going to win. And we know how Katie is. She has a lot of pride in her fight. So I could see why she wanted to take this rematch. But do you think it would have been a smarter move for her to move past Chantelle Cameron and go back and actually have the second fight with Amanda Serrano?
You could say it was smarter, but you've hit the nail on the head. Katie Taylor's got a lot of pride. She's a warrior in the ring. She's not going to take her first professional loss and go in a different direction. I just don't think that's in her mental makeup. The Serrano fight is always there. I think it's a rematch that we all want to see, but her pride has forced her into this direct rematch. Unfortunately, I think pride will be her undoing.
Yeah, the smart fight is to fight Amanda Serrano. The smart thing for Errol Spence to do is not to mess with Terrence Crawford again, but he's going to do it because they're fighters, and that's what they do. They lose, they want to get their get back, no matter how bad the matchup is. And Chantelle Cameron is an awful matchup for Katie Taylor, and we said that from the jump, but she wants to get that get back. The Serrano fight's going to still be there. We're still going to watch it. It may end up being Katie Taylor's swan song from boxing because she's 37. I don't know how much longer she can do this. But yeah, being smart and having pride are two very different things. I could tell Katie to do whatever she wants, but I didn't lose that fight against Chantelle Cameron, and I know she wants to get back. So I applaud her for doing that, but I think it's a mountain too tall for her to climb.
Now, the big question, and I ask this without fear of Claressa Shields sliding into any of your DMs or mentions to argue this, but we currently have Claressa Shields as the #1 pound-for-pound women's fighter, deservingly so. However, if Chantelle Cameron were to beat Katie Taylor, or let's say Katie Taylor, does beat Chantelle Cameron, do either of those fighters justify jumping Claressa Shields as #1 on our women's pound-for-pound list?
I sense a disagreement coming up here. My vote is that if the winner of Taylor and Cameron is pound for pound the best fighter in the world, and the reason I believe that is as terrific as Claressa Shields is, and she is a phenomenal fighter. I think a case for being the best women's fighter of all time right now already, and she's still active. The opposition just isn't there. The activity just isn't there. How long do you need to say, oh, well, she was undisputed in X amount of weight classes, X amount of years ago, and she's had defining fights, but they're few and far between. She's got no actual, like what you would call it, there's nothing much out there for her to accomplish. She can't go in with pound for pound entrance. Katie Taylor is the one doing that. Chantelle Cameron is the one doing that. It reminds me a lot of Roy Jones's position in the 90s and early thousands, where people would say that Jones was the best pound for pound fighter in the world, and a lot of publications kept him that way. But his level of opposition compared to, say, Bernard Hopkins at the time, Oscar De La Hoya at the time, Shane Mosley at the time, paled in comparison to those guys. So Claressa Shields for me is in the same position. If Chantelle wins as I expect, that's 3 consecutive victories over pound for pound entrance in a row. If you're not going to give Chantelle Cameron her props at that time, when are you going to do it? It doesn't really make much sense. So my vote would be, depending on the method of victory. For example, if Katie Taylor gets a controversial decision at home, no, then that doesn't work. If Chantelle Cameron somehow, if it's a close fight which doesn't look great, I'd say Claressa still gets it. But if Chantelle Cameron wins convincingly, I think Chantelle Cameron goes to #1.
No, I don't care what they do. I think Chantelle Cameron would have to knock Katie Taylor into the 3rd row for me to consider this. I can't fault Claressa Shields for being the best in the world. I can't fault her for being 2 divisions undisputed. I can't fault her for being a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. I can't fault her for being as good as she is as long as she's been good. Chantelle is great. Don't get me wrong. I'll give her her props. Her props are #2. As long as Claressa Shields breathes oxygen, she's the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world until another fighter proves otherwise. The interesting thing is there is a Savannah Marshall rematch that could happen. Shadasia Green's getting ready to fight Franchon Cruz-Dezurn for the WBC Super Middleweight Championship. Claressa could go and try to be a 3-division undisputed champion. Right now, I don't think there's anything that these 2 women can do short of knocking the other person out of the arena on some cartoon stuff that would have them pass Claressa Shields. Get closer? Sure, you can get close. But I think Claressa Shields is the GOAT for a reason. I don't think she just says it herself. I think she's proven it time and time again. And as great as we all say Chantelle is, some people are just tired of Claressa being #1. I'm not. She still holds that spot to me no matter what happens on November 25th.
I need to say, but that literally sounds like Chantelle Cameron should stay, Claressa Shields should stay #1 because not with any major league justification. That should just saying, okay, Claressa Shields is the best and that's just the way it is, but there's not much justification behind it if she's not got the competition, if she's not got the activity. As far as I'm aware, she's going into the PFL. What is she doing to maintain the sport?
I mean, she's done enough to maintain the sport. If she was completely inactive, then you remove her from the list due to inactivity. But as long as her name is allowed to be on that pound for pound list, she's #1 until somebody proves otherwise. Somebody's got to beat that woman or come close, and neither has happened. Katie Taylor and Chantelle Cameron.
Franchon Cruz-Dezurn in a rematch, or Savannah Marshall in a rematch. Sure. Is that going to equate to Chantelle beating Katie Taylor or vice versa? Can you even put that in the same stratosphere?
I can't fault Claressa Shields for being the best in the world. I can't say, no, you're not the best anymore because you made, what did Roy Jones say? They ain't nobodies. I made them look like nobodies. Claressa Shields, like Savannah Marshall, wasn't a nobody. She went to the UK and beat her soundly. That woman deserves to be #1. Somebody has to do something to knock her off that perch. I can't see. It's like somebody needs to beat her or give her a hard time. Katie has had a hard time in fights, and she's been number 2. Chantelle Cameron didn't completely run away with that fight. She has to knock Katie Taylor out for us to have this conversation. And I don't see that happening.
Let's move on to the second half of our doubleheader fight weekend on Saturday. And that is another title fight for the interim WBC super middleweight title that is currently held by David Benavidez as he fights Demetrius Andrade at the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas. That will be on Showtime pay-per-view. Now, this fight, earlier when we started the show, I called it the pre-match. And not to take away from the caliber of this matchup as it stands, but it's no secret that boxing fans have wanted to see either of these fighters fight Canelo Alvarez. But it seems like they got to fight each other first to justify a matchup happening. So when we head into this fight, who do you got for the WBC interim super middleweight title fight between David Benavidez and Boo Boo Andrade?
I like Andrade or Andrade. No, sorry, I don't. I like Benavidez to win this fight. I just think I was writing a story on Andrade a moment ago, and the problem is so much inactivity. Since he won his first world title win was November 2013. Okay, so 10 years ago this month. He's had 12 fights since then. That's preposterous. And that kind of inactivity, to me, ruins careers, ruins legacies. He's been a professional since 2008. I don't know what Andreas thinks, but for me, this is his first career-defining fight in 15 years. So that is, it's just not the stuff where your career's going to get remembered for all the right reasons. I think we're looking at a situation here where he's come up in weight again. I don't think he should even necessarily be at super middleweight. He's chasing Canelo again, except this time he goes in against, a monster at the weight. Benavidez knows all the things that I've just said, knows that he's older at 35 years old, like Andrade is, knows that he's been inactive. And I just think he's going to press him for 12 rounds. And I think it's one of these situations where Andrade could be ahead, but to last 12 rounds against Benavidez on the rampage when you've been as inactive as he's been is going to be a monstrous task for him. I think he's in trouble.
Yeah, David Benavidez is going to beat down Demetrius Andrade. If I have to liken it to a fight that I recall, when Miguel Cotto fought Antonio Margarito the first time, and Cotto fought well in the first half of that fight, but he just kept getting hit over and over and over again. Granted, what we know about Margarito now changes the perception of that fight. But I think that David Benavidez is the same kind of fighter. High pressure, will just walk you down, wear you out, does not stop punching, is incredibly accurate. He's like the most explosive offensive fighter in boxing today. He's in the top 5 in like 6 different statistical categories. And he's only 26. Everybody keeps acting like this guy's 30. David Benavidez is 26 years old. He hasn't even reached his physical prime. He knows what's at the other side of the rainbow, and Demetrius Andrade standing in front of him, he's going to beat him probably worse than he did Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant's a really damn good boxer. Demetrius Andrade's inactivity, he's had fits like against Luke Keeler, for instance, where he drops his opponent early and then kind of cruises and wins a decision. He's not going to have room to breathe in this fight. He's never been in a pressure situation like this. He's never had to be that active. He's going to be in a world of hurt come the 6th, 7th, and 8th rounds where he's just not going to be able to get away from David Benavidez, and he's going to finish him in definitive fashion. Benavidez by stoppage somewhere in the 9th and 10th rounds. I just don't see how Andrade can get this done.
To Tom's point earlier about his inactivity and how this is kind of a career-defining fight for him, isn't it crazy to think that this will actually be the first pay-per-view fight that Demetrius Andrade has headlined, and second straight for David Benavidez? But considering that they're both undefeated and they're willing to put their undefeated records on the line. Now, I know we are both going with Benavidez, and we want to see him fight Canelo for those Mexican holidays that he is so vocal about. But with either fighter getting this WBC interim super middleweight title, what excuse would Canelo have to not fight the winner of this fight next?
from what I'm hearing, the excuse is going to be Jermall Charlo. I don't know how realistic the rumours are that are kicking around, but I've heard that Canelo is considering Jermall Charlo. I think Jermall Charlo mentioned it in an interview. Forgive me, I can't remember the source. But based on the fact that Canelo's last fight against the other Charlo was an absolute nightmare and a cure for insomnia, I find it amazing that Canelo is wanting to go back there again. But let's say, for example, Andrade wins this fight. Do I expect Canelo to fight Andrade? Not in a million years. Not in 2 million years. It's just that's not going to happen. And Canelo's now at the point as well where he could vacate a belt because he's made defences of the undisputed super middleweight championship, and I can see him starting to drop belts soon if people try to press him, or if organisations try to press him into a mandatory. And I think that'll definitely be the case with Benavidez, who, for whatever reason that Canelo can muster, he just simply looks like he doesn't want to fight him. I can see next year, 2024, Benavidez fighting for a vacant WBC title. I don't think he'll get the Canelo fight.
Man, that sucks, because it's the only fight that anybody really wants to see out of Canelo. Look, Jermall Charlo's fighting Jose Benavidez. And Jose Benavidez fought Terrence Crawford at like 140 pounds. He's fighting Charlo at 60. Like, Charlo's he's been inactive. I don't know why he still has his belt. I don't know why anybody would care to see Jermall versus Canelo. That could be the fight they want to see, but yeah, that other fight stunk with Jamel. I think if David Benavidez puts on the performance that I expect him to, he's going to put Canelo in the corner where public outcry is going to be like, you can't fight anybody else but this dude. He's been calling you out for years. There's a lot of people, including myself, that believe that David Benavidez has all the tools to beat Canelo Alvarez. I think Canelo hears that. So something tells me if Benavidez has that kind of a performance and he calls out Canelo, which I fully expect him to do, Canelo's going to have to accept that challenge. I don't know what else out there. I don't think a Jermall Charlo is a fight that anybody cares about. I can't find another scenario that Canelo would get away from him again. I'm not going to say that Canelo can do whatever he wants, but I'm saying for the sanity, for my own sanity, and for the boxing community, we need David Benavidez versus Canelo. And come on, how long can you defend an interim title? Can we unify these damn things, please? Defending an interim title is stupid. It should go right to Canelo. This should be Benavidez, Canelo next. That's it. No excuses. And Canelo, don't be a sucker. Don't vacate that title. Hold that title and fight the guy that everybody wants you to fight. Fix it.
Andreas, I don't know if you've been following boxing at all, especially the past year, but weirder things have happened to where the fights that make the most sense don't happen. So with that being said, there is a chance, I hope it's not a good chance, but there is a chance that if Benavidez wins, if he calls out Canelo, that fight still does not happen. So what is the next best move for David Benavidez if he is to defend this title and it's not Canelo?
Pass. Like, he is in a position where, there's nothing. You've got the likes of David Morrell, who I really rate at super middleweight, and might end up taking that fight. Morrell's a class act. I think he still holds the WBA regular title, but that immediately tells me he probably doesn't have a high WBC rating. I think if the Canelo fight doesn't happen in May, the WBC need to strip him. I know the WBC will be cozy with Canelo because, he's won so many WBC titles, and we know what the nationality is, not to state the obvious. I just think that if he doesn't get the Canelo fight, he will fight for a vacant, but who against, I don't know. The one thing I do know, just by looking at the landscape at super middleweight, it's not going to be a career-defining, mega lucrative payday for Benavidez compared to what Canelo would be.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. If I'm David Benavidez and I don't get the Canelo fight, maybe I'll just move to light heavyweight. Like, I don't know what I'm hanging around here for. I'm not fighting David Morrell next because he doesn't really deserve it, even though David Morrell's great. I deserve Canelo. And if I can't get that, let me go belt collect at a division that Canelo failed at. Maybe that's David Benavidez's next move. Just one-up Canelo again and try to force this fight, because there's no excuses. That should be the headline for that fight. No excuses. Make the fight happen. If it doesn't happen, I just can't see anything else that makes sense. Why are we doing this to David Benavidez? Again, undefeated, 26 years old, already a two-time WBC champion, the current interim WBC super middleweight title holder. It's the only fight to make. Like, And Carissa, you're right. Boxing disrespects me all the damn time. It makes me upset all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again. But come on, for once, give me what I want. Can I just have what I want, please?
Well, I wouldn't hold your breath, Andreas.
I think if he moves to light heavyweight, there's no easy outs up there either. Bivol's a nightmare for him, and so is Beterbiev.
Well, I mean, even to just kind of beat a dead horse, I'm sure we'll be back next week to talk about this December 23rd card that has Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder not fighting each other. So there's more conversations like this to be had. But in the meantime, we've got a doubleheader of title fight boxing on Saturday, November 25th, with Chantelle Cameron and Katie Taylor too, as well as David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. It's going to be a fun one, but first we got to get through Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I am thankful to be on the show with you every single week and talk boxing. Thankful for our viewers. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. For Andreas Hale and Tom Gray, I'm Carissa Maxwell, and we will see you back here next week on Fighting Words.